Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hammer Territory podcast. This is episode 217. I'm your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Wednesday evening here in mid-June, and I'm joined, as I always am, by Scott Coleman. Scott, I don't want to jinx it, but a good vibes episode hosted by you and I after a win? Is that allowed?
It is allowed, although it has been a little rare and few and far between. But, man, just talk about what a difference 24 hours can be for the Atlanta Braves. A team that it looked like it was going to be more of the same on Tuesday, down 4-1 in the eighth inning. Offense couldn't do anything. We've seen and talked about that game a million times, but they have the big comeback on Tuesday night. I thought it was clearly the best win of the season. And then Chris Sale goes out there tonight and delivers just an all-time dominant performance. Offense was plenty good enough. And after all the frustrations of that Sunday loss against the Rockies, two really nice wins against the Mets. And now they have a chance to sweep, which would be a dream scenario considering where we were at on Sunday night.
Absolutely. And if you missed anything from the honestly awesome win on Tuesday evening, we had a fresh podcast on this feed from our guys, Sean and Steven, deep into the night on Tuesday. So listen to that one, and please subscribe to Hammer Territory anywhere you find your podcast. We are here all year round, including all throughout this series and the next series and the one after that. We'll be talking about it all on this show. So please spread the word for us and support the podcast however you possibly can. But yeah, obviously today we're talking about a 5-0 win for the Braves to clinch a series win over the Mets. Still work to do on Thursday to potentially get a sweep. Obviously, you're looking for that. You got to get greedy now, as we talked about a lot recently. They dug this hole, they got to dig out of it. But it's been good vibes here. They've now won 5 of the last 6 of the last 8, 3 series in a row, all those things that we could kind of name. I feel like we have to do like almost a segment on its own about Chris Sale. So let's begin there. Chris Sale is absolutely out of his mind and has been for a while. It feels like it wasn't that long ago that we were having like not a debate, because you and I were on the same side of this about whether he was like in some trouble earlier in the season, but it was a topic in April. Like, is Chris Sale done? Is Chris Sale cooked? All these things. And you look up on June 18th, and I just refreshed Fangraphs. Chris Sale, I believe, is now 3rd or 4th among National League pitchers in Fangraphs WAR this season for the season. Even with a pretty bad start to the season, he has been utterly dominant in recent days, and that was definitely personified by tonight's game.
So dominant, and since May 1st, Chris Sale's ERA is 1.00. Pretty good, folks. He is so good. It was awesome that Sale's family was right behind the plate tonight, too. I don't know if you caught that, Brad, but his son was there. His wife was there. I mean, just awesome. And Sale, the first couple weeks, even if the results were not the greatest, I think most people realized that he was just getting unbelievably unlucky, and it was only a matter of time. And even if there were some things Sale needed to work on with better locating his slider and using his fastball a little more effectively, the stuff was still great. And for basically 2 calendar months now, really since that start out west in Arizona, it feels like Sale maybe figured something out, whether it was mechanics or just kind of the ball starting to bounce his way a little more. And I mean, Sale has a legitimate chance at another Cy Young award if he can stay healthy and keep pitching like this, because he's throwing the ball as well as anybody in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, he got 13 swings and misses in this game. He was guys were diving out of the way. Like, he's just utterly locked in. And 8 2/3 innings, 5 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. He's just been great. He's 36 years old, reigning Cy Young winner. We all know the deal there, but like, he's pitching at, honestly, these last 6 starts are better than he was last year, which is ludicrous, but it's true. He's now had 6 consecutive starts allowing 1 run or fewer. That doesn't happen. You don't have 6. That doesn't happen to anyone. His ERA is 0.86, and that's it. But you gave already the stat about the May 1st. It's even lower than that last 6 starts. And he went deep in this one. That's the thing about Sale. They gave him more time. I mean, there was a whole, I guess we didn't really engage in the argument, but there was an argument whether it backfired on them when they lost to the Rockies and all those things. And Grant Holmes was great that night. But they gave Sale two extra days rest for this outing, line up against the Mets, high-profile game, and this is exactly what you wanted to see happen. You throw your ace out there, your guy, your dog, and he just mows down your arch rival to secure a series win. And yeah, we know it's June. It's not September. It's not October. We get that. But every game is huge right now for the Braves. That's just the reality that we're in. Yep. And him going out and doing that, and again, going deep, 8 2/3. I guess we could talk about him coming out of the game in the ninth. Did you have an opinion on him not closing the game out? People were mad about this. I was not, but I wonder what you thought.
I was honestly surprised that they sent Sale back out there for the ninth inning.
Me too.
Because what was he at 102 pitches, I think, after 8. And in my mind, I was like, okay, Sale's done, 5-run lead, give it to somebody good in the bullpen. You don't want to give it away. And then he went back out there, and that diving grab he made against Juan Soto was just awesome. I mean, so good, full extension. He's 6'6", reached out for the ball and then was able to get it out of his glove and fire it over to Olsen. And then that damn Brandon Nimmo just had to spoil the vibe and poke one over Riley's head at third base. I mean, I think the whole park was, I mean, the stadium was awesome tonight, fully behind Sale, and then Nimmo just had to be a punk and drop that ball for a hit. But hey, Iglesias came in, got the out, I think, on 3 pitches, and everybody got to celebrate. But I mean, it was I didn't blame Brian Snitker for going out there and getting Sale at 116 pitches, even with extra rest. That is a lot of torque to put on that arm and that shoulder.
I didn't get a chance to listen to Sale's comments because I was otherwise engaged at the end of the game, but I saw he was wearing a Peace Up A-Town Down t-shirt on the podium, which I find to be incredibly endearing. I love Chris Sale already, and that only makes it even more so. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure whether they would say so or not, and maybe they did say this, I don't know. I'm pretty sure the deal was probably, hey, Chris, if you can get 3 straight outs here, go ahead and do it. If someone reaches base, they're coming out of the game. And that's my guess anyway of what happened.
And hey, he got Juan Soto out and he got Pete Alonso out.
Yeah.
I mean, those are 2 of the 15 best hitters on the planet right now, probably. So to get them a 4th time through the order, he had Soto uncomfortable and off balance all night, which is very difficult to do. Alonso struck out 3 times. And again, he was 1 pitch away from getting the complete game shutout, which would have been really great. I think first time since 2019 for Sale that he was trying to do that, but just a big old tip of the cap. And because of that, it feels like for the first time in a long time, Brad, maybe since the Braves hit 500, that there is some real optimism, not only just among the fans and among us doing a podcast, but like with the players too. It feels like the energy and the swagger is back a little bit.
Yeah, and you don't want to overstate it. Obviously, they're 33 and 39 still. Like, there's a lot of work to do. But you're right. Yeah. I mean, you win 3 straight series, the vibes are going to improve. You win 5 out of 6 games, especially 2 wins against the Mets. Like, you're not playing the Rockies. I mean, the Rockies you're supposed to win. There's an expectation that you're going to beat the Rockies. And they lost that game, of course, but they won the series. The Mets are really good. I mean, even with tonight's game, they're 45 and 29. The Mets are very good. And to beat them, and yeah, it's in your park and with your guys on the mound. But look, we said it. You and I said it on Sunday. If they load up for this series against the Mets and they lose it, that's a vibe killer. Now you know you've won the series. You can still lose it on Thursday. You can still lose a game on Thursday. You don't want to lose a game on Thursday, but at the very least, I think you and I even said on Sunday, if you beat the Mets 2 out of 3 games, there's no complaining about not sweeping the Mets. This is not the Rockies. Yeah. So you've done that. Get greedy now. Sale doing that is obviously an exclamation point on this whole thing, but like not having to rely on the bats to do a ton, it was fine. They scored 5 runs. We'll get to that in a second. A lot of that damage done right out of the gate. Maybe that freed up Sale to be even more aggressive along the way. But hard for me to talk about anything other than Chris Sale leading this podcast because he's just been he's been the best player on the roster since the moment he arrived. If we're being 100% honest,
yeah,
like Ronnie wasn't available for most of last season. That is what it is. Chris Sale's been the guy for the last year and a half, and that was appropriate for today.
Yeah. Shout out Vaughn Grissom. Thank you for your trade service. A couple people actually asked when I tweeted about it. Vaughn is in AAA with the Red Sox and not doing very well, and he's had some injuries. So, I mean, that trade looks like it might be an all-timer. There was talk tonight, too, of the Chris Sale Hall of Fame discussion, which, I mean, in my book, he is awfully close. As long as he doesn't get another bad injury, and I promise you I am knocking on wood as I say that. I mean, he has a real case and just a special player. And, you know, Brad, we said on the Sunday show that it was now or never for this baseball team.
Yep.
They had a 4-2 week last week, which was fine, even if Sunday was maddening, but it's now or never. and there's still 11 games to go in this 2-week stretch against the Mets twice, the Phillies, and the Marlins. But 2-0, vibes are good. Let's keep it rolling and try. I mean, a sweep against the Mets would be awesome. I mean, that would be obviously Captain Obvious. But if the Braves can close out this series with a sweep and then go to Miami and then 4 games against the Mets next week, this is what this team needs to do if they want to get back into this thing.
Absolutely. And we'll talk about a little bit more about tonight's game, but also some comments from Alex Anthopoulos that made the rounds today in a local radio interview, plus a little bit of a brief preview of Thursday's game and more. All this coming up after a word from our partners.
By now, you know that HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit and that you can choose from 60 recipes every week. But what you might not know is that AJ wants me to describe some of the recent meals that are on the menu. So here we go. Sun-dried tomato grilled cheese sandos. That was easy. Panko-crusted chimichurri barramundi.
Yes.
Let's go.
Nailed it.
Let's
that
go.
Sounds delicious too, by the way.
It does.
And listen, as someone that uses HelloFresh a lot, they come in these little bags with all the ingredients in a bag. You take it out of the bag. It gives you instructions, the recipes in there. You got to do a little cooking so you feel like you did some stuff. Highest quality ingredients, just delicious for meals.
That's right. Make your summer enjoyable and delicious by signing up for HelloFresh at HelloFresh.com/FT10FM and then get 10 free meals with a free item for life. That's HelloFresh.com/FT10FM for 10 free meals and a free item in every box, 1 per box with active subscription. Free meals are applied as a discount on the first box. New subscribers only, varies by plan.
Okay, Scott, quickly about the offense on this Wednesday evening. The Braves scored 3 runs in the first inning, and that was all. It's all they needed. We didn't know that then, but that was all they needed. Ronald Acuña continues to be ridiculous. He homers on the first pitch the Braves saw in the game. After that, I think the Mets were very careful with him, which I want to tee you up to talk about a little bit, because there's been a lot of discussion about the #2 hole in the lineup recently, including on last night's show from Sean and Steven. But Ronnie just like setting the tone right out of the gate with, hey, I'm going to home run on the first pitch I see. And he has a OPS over 1,200 in the month of June. He's been the best player in baseball since the MLB arrived so far, which is crazy. In a world with Judge existing and Ohtani existing, Ronnie's still probably been the best player in baseball since he came up. It's been crazy how good he's been.
Yeah, Acuña is unbelievable. And I know that Paul Blackburn has largely been in the American League West and hasn't really pitched a ton this year, but what are you thinking there? I mean, a 90 mile an hour fastball right down the pipe. I actually think Blackburn throws like a cutter kind of thing, and it didn't cut, and it was in the middle of the plate. And Acuña is just so special, and good on the Braves. Like you said, they scored 3 runs early. Have you ever seen the catcher balk called? I know people were looking into this tonight, and there are some instances of this, but I mean, even the Mets booth was like, what just happened when the Mets catcher, and by the way, the Mets catchers have had an awful series so far.
Yeah.
But, he tried to corral the ball with his mask, and then a run scored on that. And then Ozuna drove in another run on a sac fly, which is a sight for sore eyes. I mean, the Braves have done a better job for the most part of taking advantage of some Mets miscues that have really, they've maybe cost the Mets at least 1 game so far.
The Mets are not playing well in this series. We can acknowledge that while praising the Braves. The Mets are not playing well in these 2 games. That catcher's balk, I guess it wasn't technically called a catcher's balk. I know that CJ called it that way, and I think he came on, I think it was on Twitter after, was like, actually it was ruled an error, but still bizarre play. To answer your question, no, I don't recall ever seeing that happen. The rule makes sense. People were on it on social media. People were saying, hey, this is what happened. Oh, okay. I wouldn't have known, honestly. I'll raise my hand when I don't know things. I didn't know that. So that was a weird play. And, nice to have 2 more runs in the first inning to be at 3-0. And with Sale on the mound, I got to be honest with you, Scott, I felt pretty darn good at that moment in time, up 3. Like some nights this year, you take a 3-0 lead. It's like, all right, gird your loins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But not with Sale.
There was a stat, I think, on the broadcast that when Sale has been given a 3-run or more lead with the Braves, he's 16-0 or something like that, or the Braves are 16-0. I mean, that is as dominant as it gets. And obviously in the first, we did not know that Sale was going to turn in, I mean, frankly, one of his best performances in a decade. But I mean, it was a nice kind of breather for everybody after all the fun last night. The last thing you wanted to do is give the Mets an early lead. the Braves scored early, and Sale obviously made it stand up.
Of course, the Braves did go full Braves in the second inning with a leadoff triple from Ozzie without scoring a run because Michael Harris pops out, bat at bat. Nick Allen lines out in Nick Allen fashion, and then they pitch around Acuña. It's a good way to tee this up now. Very obviously, that was the right decision. Look, if I'm the Mets, I'm not throwing to Ronnie either. And part of that is that he's Ronald Acuña, who, by the way, I looked up a second ago, is actually leading the majors in Fangraphs WAR. That's the day he came up. So he actually has been the best player in baseball by the numbers. But if they pitch around him, very obviously. Throws nothing to hit. Alex Verdugo then grounds out. I will say Verdugo has been like a tiny bit better since he started hitting second in the lineup. It was the wrong decision. We don't like it, but he has been. But it's very obvious, and one of the reasons why we don't like that, among others, is that why in the world would you throw anything to Ronald Acuña? So what did you find looking at the last two games?
Yep. So I think we've well documented how much we dislike the left fielder that night batting behind Acuña. And I mean, it's kind of catching on both not only locally, but nationally. It's like, why would you pitch to Acuña right now? You just said he's been the best player. Yeah, exactly. He's been the best player in the league for almost 4 weeks now. So I was tracking this on Tuesday night. Acuña saw 20 pitches. 6 of them were in the strike zone. And Acuña walked 3 times. The intentional walk in the 10th inning was kind of obvious. I think they would have done probably the same thing to Matt Olson or Ozuna or Riley to set up the double play. But 6 pitches in the zone to Acuña out of 20. And then tonight we saw them pitch around Acuña in a scoring opportunity. And while it wasn't quite as drastic, I didn't go back and track it just yet. I do wonder, as Acuña keeps mashing the baseball, at least until Profar comes back, and who knows what Jurickson's going to be able to do. If I'm an opposing manager or the opposing pitching coach, I'm not throwing Ronald anything near the zone, and then just taking your chances with not only Verdugo, but I mean, Olson's been better, but Ozuna's been hot and cold. Riley's continues to be in a funk. Why would you take the chance, the risk? It's basically the Aaron Judge approach with the Yankees. I'm walking the guy 4 times that night. Why would I risk him hitting a 400-foot homer when I can just put him on first base and see what happens?
Yeah, and he's not running the way he was 2 years ago. So it's not like it's automatic double the way it was. Kind of when you walked Ronnie in 2023, it was a double. He was running every time, and but now it's not happening now. So yeah, why are you pitching to him? Maybe the Mets will hear us and stop, which I hope they don't. But I pulled this for something else, but I'll just share it now. I pulled it's an arbitrary endpoint, which I'm not big on, but for the month of June, it's easy to pull the numbers because every stat query has a month by month. This is updated for today. For the month of June, that's now 18 days. I think it's 15 games this month. The Braves have exactly 2 players in their entire roster offensively with an OPS over 653. Ronnie is at 1235, which is ludicrous, obviously. Matt Olson has been great. 990 OPS. He homered today. Olson's been very, very good now for a while. Everyone else, and this is not, at some points this season, obviously you've had Ozuna being really good. Baldwin had a great stretch. Murphy had a great stretch. There's been guys who have done their job for the season. I'm not saying that. But since June 1, everyone, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that, everyone other than Ronnie and Matt Olson has been bad. Riley, Baldwin, Ozuna, Murphy, Ozzie, Harris, everyone. And to their credit, I guess, the Braves have been able to win some games despite that. At least for the last week and a half, they've been able to win some games. But man, some pretty dire numbers for the month of June. And granted, that's kind of started the slide. It hurts when, or maybe helps this or argument, when they lost their first 7 games of June. So obviously that's part of the arbitrary endpoint here. But man, it's been a 2-man show offensively for a little while now.
We really need one of those patented Austin Riley summer heaters where, was it a couple years ago in July, it was like the greatest month in the history of the Atlanta Braves. Ozuna, hot and cold. I still think the hip is probably bothering him more than he's let on. He's a veteran. He's not going to make excuses. But, Ozuna has cooled kind of quietly. Drake Baldwin is in a bad funk for almost a month now. I think Baldwin has like a 450 OPS, and the strikeouts have gone up. He's not walking. And I think it's probably, one, nobody can expect Drake Baldwin to be Aaron Judge, which is basically with the way he was hitting the first month and a half of the year.
Yep.
But the league has probably made an adjustment to Baldwin, and it's important to remember he is a rookie. And I think we're both confident that Baldwin will figure it out. But he was a real cog in the middle of this lineup the first 2.5 months of the year. Sean Murphy was hitting a ton of homers when he came up, but Murphy is cool. I mean, like you said, nobody is hitting. Michael Harris, dear God. When Jeff Francoeur, who would swing at my curveball, Jeff Francoeur is in the booth telling Michael Harris, hey, bud, maybe you should stop swinging at everything. It's probably time to make some adjustments. Ozzie Albies did have a nice night tonight, had a double and triple, which was good to see. Also took a ball off his kneecap or just above it. So that was a little scary. Hopefully he's okay when he wakes up on Thursday. But yeah, I mean, the Braves need more. Acuña is an alien. Olsen has been really good, but they just need more. And that's probably going to ultimately decide how far this team can go.
It is. And look, it wasn't a dominant performance today offensively. 7 hits, 5 runs, did have 4 walks. So it was like a perfectly reasonable average, maybe slightly above average offensive performance. That's fine. I'll take 5 runs all day, every day. If they average 5 runs a game, they're going to win a lot of games. Hopefully they can ratchet it up a little bit here. But if you look at to be fair, after we just kind of crapped on the offense, they've been scoring in this stretch. They in these 6 games, they've won 5 of them, 6 runs, 12 runs, 4 runs. Then the bad one against Colorado, then 5 and 5. So like they're putting up enough. They're doing enough. It's not the 2023 Braves all of a sudden, but they're scoring enough.
It never will be. That is a that was a generational offensive season in 2023, and who knows? Maybe in a decade we'll see something like that again. But I think for our analysis purposes, we just kind of have to say, hey, 2023 was like the greatest possible outcome offensively, and now we just have to hope that this is kind of more of the same.
Absolutely. All right, we have one more segment to get to, including Alex Anthopoulos' comments about Chris Sale, ironically, headline there, and then a little bit of a preview of Thursday. First, though, word from our partners on the podcast.
It is summertime. We are in the thick of golf season. It's always golf season down in Florida, but we're in the thick of golf season across the country, and if someone's looking to get a new club, that logo should say it all. PXG. What do they do?
Go get fitted. Mm-hmm. Go get fitted by one of their master fitters, professional fitters. I've done it. It's helped shave many strokes off my handicap. It is worth it. It's educational. You learn about not only clubs, you learn about shafts, you learn about grips, you learn about angles. They have all the numbers, all the setups that you need to help improve your handicap.
You feel like a VIP when you're there.
100%. They even help my putting, which needed help.
Mm-hmm. They help your putting there. That's how cool it is. So schedule your fitting today, and for a limited time, you could save up to 20% on your entire order. Head over to pxg.com/foul. That's pxg.com/foul to save up to 20% on your entire order. pxg.com/foul. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Scott, let us go to a transactional topic. Alex Anthopoulos, of course, Braves personnel czar, did about a 20-minute interview on the Braves flagship radio station here in Atlanta, 680 The Fan, on Wednesday morning. So this is pre-game today, but earlier today. Look, I recommend listening to it. Alex is a master at not saying a lot of times. Like, he's polished. You won't get a ton out of it if you listen to the whole thing, but I always listen to the whole thing for context purposes. But the headliner, I think, for me, was that he was asked about selling trade stuff, Chris Sale in particular, and he was pretty defiant about the concept of trading Chris Sale. He said he heard the speculation. He called it, and I quote, completely ridiculous, end quote, about trading Sale. And then here's the money quote that I will tee you up with from Alex. Quote, "We are not selling, especially anyone with club control beyond this year will not happen." End quote. What do you make of that? There's not a lot of wiggle room. I mean, Alex is creative sometimes in his wiggle room, but that was pretty definitive by his standards.
And not only are the words definitive, but if you listen to the clip, Alex said it like on his children's lives. Like he's like, we are not trading. I thought it was interesting. He did leave the door open just a smidge on multiple years of control, which
I was going to say, anyone with club control beyond this year was the interesting phrase there.
So if things go sideways, maybe they trade Ozuna, maybe they trade Pierce Johnson or Iglesias. But I think the big takeaway was that hard and fast, they're not trading Chris Sale. And I think it was good to hear that from Anthopoulos directly, because I mean, that's been a lot of talk. You look on Twitter, I think half of the Cubs fans in the world have already convinced themselves they're trading for Sale. Red Sox fans have convinced themselves they're going to trade back for Sale. If you want to give you want to give Roman Anthony or something, sure. But yeah, I mean, I think it was good to hear directly from Alex. They're not trading Sale. They're not trading Sean Murphy. They're not going to trade Olsen or Ozuna or Riley or Acuña.
Well, that's been the thing with Alex. Like, I do think at some point the unofficial official policy of we're not trading anyone on an extension is probably going to have to change. Like, I think at some point in Alex's tenure, he's going to have to trade someone who is signed long-term. Maybe I'll be wrong about that, but that doesn't seem like it's a sustainable policy. At the moment,
it's different. It's different if it's an 8-year deal and you're trading a guy in year 5. That's a little different than you're not trading someone in year 1 or 2 of their deal.
I agree. And look, none of this is surprising. Look, our colleague Steven, just to put it out there, Steven said this, and I thought the same thing. What else is he going to say? Like, that's the counter of this. If you don't believe Alex, which I get why you wouldn't in some respects. This winter, we covered ad nauseum a couple things that Alex is pretty clear on, and then he did not do that. Like the Travis d'Arnaud option was one, the firing coaches thing, we're bringing everybody back. Those were, you could at least, there was a little bit of wiggle room in those if you listen back to it. I think it's pretty clear. This was more defiant, I will say.
Yeah.
And Steven's point's a good one though. Like, what is a competitive? He's not the GM of the Rockies. Like, Alex clearly believes they're going to win some games between now and the deadline. And look, if the Braves suddenly lose 15 games in a row, maybe he changes his mind. But on June 18th, he's not going to be like, you know what? Yeah, we're open for business. We're going to sell. Like, he's not going to do that either. So, like, I don't want to make too much of this, but I did think that your point is right. The tone, and particularly on Sale, which I think, look, Scott, you and I talked about this offline. I would have been shocked if they traded Sale anyway, but this makes it seem like it's even less of a possibility, only because, look, they have to be so far out of it for me. Like, this is my posture the entire time. They have to be so far out of it to want to sell for multiple reasons. But I guess Alex just saying it into a microphone, a pretty loud, broad microphone, got attention today, which made sense.
And if you trade Sale, you are pretty much punting, not just this year, but 2026.
Yep. We're still not
you trade. I mean, Sale's probably the second best pitcher, maybe third best pitcher at worst on the earth right now, behind Tarek Skubal and Paul Skeens. Like, if I had to rank them personally, I would go Skubal, Skeens, Sale would be my 1, 2, 3. If you trade number 3 on that list, you're probably not winning in 2026 either. And there's just no way. I mean, just from every imaginable perspective, I just can't fathom the Braves doing it. And again, nothing is law binding by a radio interview in the middle of June, but
not under oath.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad he said that. Maybe that'll quiet the speculation a little bit. He did give the little caveat we mentioned again, especially with anyone with club control beyond this year.
Right.
That's what he really said will not happen, which I think we already assumed. Anyway, we'll leave it there.
And frankly, if he trades Aaron Bummer, or, well, I guess Bummer now is multiple years.
He has
Bummer
team control. Yes.
Pierce Johnson or Iglesias, like, okay, cool. You're not getting a top 50. You're not even getting a top 100 prospect for that. You're going to get a 18-year-old who has some tools, and maybe in 5 years he's a usable piece.
And we're not going to do the buy, sell, trade thing every episode between now and the end of July. Like, I'm not doing that every episode, but every once in a while, maybe once a week or something, we'll touch on it, see where they are. This is just obviously a tee up. Alex talked to the media, a media outlet today about this exact topic. So here we are, and there we have it. Oh, one more thing from that. He did get asked about the Rafael Devers links. Obviously, he's already been traded, so it doesn't really matter now. Devers got traded. The Braves were reportedly linked to him. He said he was aware that Devers was available over the last month, but the quote was, in terms of reports or offers or anything like that, never happened. Did they call on Devers? I would probably say they did. That's my guess.
I think Alex even admitted that he knew for the last month that
he was
Devers could be available, but he also said, that is my job.
Right.
And it's like in the offseason, you get the reports of, oh, the Braves and the Mariners talked at the winter meetings. Yes, that is what general managers do. That's what presidents of baseball operations do. They talk because you never know when a deal might come together. You don't want to just be, what else are they doing? Obviously, GMs have a massive job and they run the business side of things and they're doing a whole lot more than just managing a 40-man roster. But yeah, so again, if folks did not hear the Anthopoulos interview, it's worth checking out. I think 680 The Fans podcast on Apple.
They actually posted the whole thing on Twitter. I mean, they posted a 22-minute video on Twitter, which I was like, wow, that was aggressive. But hey, cool. It's available. You can find it, listen to it, watch it, whatever you want to do. It is out there. Last thing on our relatively brief, by our standards, midweek podcast. The Braves play again on Thursday. It's a series finale against the Mets. It's Strider for the Braves against Clay Holmes for the Mets. Strider, of course, coming off that awesome performance over the weekend. 13 strikeouts, looked awesome. We'll see how he looks in the follow-up to that. The velocity was up in that outing. Hopefully looks that same thing again. And Clay Holmes was a reliever and a high-profile one. In fact, we talked about him this winter as a potential Braves target in free agency. He ended up going to the Mets and becoming a starter. He's actually been quite good for the Mets as a starter. ERA in the high twos, has done a good job. And the Braves have not seen him at all in about a year and a half, 2 years. So we'll see how they look there. I looked at the betting odds, which, they're not gospel, but the Braves are actually slightly favored. They're at home with Strider on the mound, so not a huge surprise, but notable to me. Anything you're looking for the finale on Thursday?
All eyes on Spencer Strider. And what does the fastball look like? What is the velocity like? And not only the fastball, but also the slider. His slider was so much better against the Rockies than it had been earlier. This will be Strider's 6th start since coming off the IL. So you would think that he's kind of distanced himself from both the hamstring and now he's about 14 months removed from the elbow surgery. So yes, very interested to see how Strider looks. If he looks like he did against the Rockies or even anywhere close to it, then I think you can legitimately say Spencer Strider might be back. Maybe he may never be throwing 102 again like he was as a rookie. But if he's humming 98 and looks good against a really good New York lineup and the slider is sharp and then he works in that changeup or a curve, it'd be really, really good news for this team. And hopefully they can get to Clay Holmes, who's been good this year in his first year with the Mets. And it's going to be a challenge. I think if you had to ask me, I would guess that runs will probably be at a premium going in. And hopefully the Braves can sweep because that would just be such a good way to then kick off the road trip against Miami and then the Mets again.
It would be huge for sure. As a PSA, often these series finales on Thursdays will be afternoon games. This is not one. This is a primetime affair on a getaway day. Better for Scott out there in Arizona. It's an afternoon game for you, but not for me. It's an evening game for us in the Atlanta area. But I'm sure the Braves fought for that one to be a night game for ticket purposes.
Yeah.
That place will, I'm sure, be packed on Thursday night with the Mets in town. But just as a PSA there, it's a big one. Obviously, like I said before, it's not going to be sky is falling if they lose because you won the first 2 games. You won the series. But boy, get greedy in a game where, again, you're a slight favorite, like a 55-45 kind of favorite in the betting market, all that stuff. If Strider looks like he did at his last start, you feel good. Get greedy. Go to Miami on a 3-game winning streak and back to 5 games within 500. Not where you want to be, but better than it was a week ago, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, compare the feeling right now to Sunday afternoon after that Rockies loss. It's night and day. And let's keep building. It's momentum is as big as the next day's starting pitcher.
Look at you.
Look at that. You like that old? That's old.
You'll start pulling out Jerks and Profar is going to be like making a trade without making a trade here in a couple of weeks. So.
Yeah. I think Profar has been off to a pretty good start with Gwinnett actually, which is encouraging. The Braves, dear God, the Braves could use some help in left field with Profar, and we'll see how he does. But yes, overall, 2 great wins. Let's get a sweep, close it out, and then hopefully go down to Miami, where the Braves have played really, really well for years now, and take advantage of a Marlins team that isn't completely terrible. They're not like in the Rockies or White Sox sphere, but they're not very far away.
Yeah, the Marlins are currently 29-43, so they're a decent chunk behind the struggling Braves. So it tells you where the Marlins are at this point. All right, Scott, we're going to sign off before this gets off the rails, as we sometimes do on our podcast. Anything to plug on this Wednesday evening?
Nothing to plug. Thank you, everybody, as always, for tuning in.
Please subscribe to this podcast anywhere you find podcasts. That includes YouTube. So if you're an audio subscriber, nothing has to change for you. But if you want to do us a favor, just smash subscribe on YouTube to help us get the numbers up. Go ahead and do that. We appreciate it. If you're a YouTube watcher, thank you. Please also download and subscribe to the podcast on Apple or Spotify or wherever. We have merch now. We have merch now, Scott.
We do.
For the
shirts. Yeah, some
sickos.
shorts, some shirts, coffee mugs, quarter zips. So yeah, if you want to rep some Hammer territory around the house or at Truist Park, maybe you go to a lot of games, please, by all means, we'll put that link in the show description.
It is hammerterritoryshop.com if you're an audio listener. So there you go. I've already ordered something for me to hopefully wear. I know Steven did today. We're looking like, look, I'm not the one printing the t-shirts. I got to be honest with you on the podcast at the end of the show, but hey, it's pretty cool to have our stuff on a shirt. So
yeah.
Shots to Thought Territory, guys. One more time, please subscribe. Thanks for listening. As always, we'll have more coming up later this week, and we'll see everybody next time.